Hello, my name is Joshua Keith, and this is theburningcoal.com, a website dedicated to God's glory, His grace, and our response to it. Today, we are going to get back into the swing of our Monday motivations. I know we've been away from them for a little while, but now we're going to get started with them again. And we're going to talk about using our time wisely. I thought this was appropriate because we just had daylight savings time. And these are always hard times. It always throws off our schedules. It may seem like we gain an hour, we lose an hour, but we know that it's just the manipulating of our clocks. We don't actually gain any extra time, and it's an important reminder that time is in fact a limited resource, and that we need to choose how we use it wisely. And that's really what Paul warns in his Ephesian letter. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 16, it says, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. And so Paul wants us to focus on making sure we use our time to the best. And that's a really good thing for us to take a second and stop and consider. Because one of the things that we need to recognize is that Satan is actively working against us, that we are involved in the spiritual warfare. And Paul, I think, wisely puts here this idea of being aware of evil. Sometimes the way our culture acts about Satan, it almost minimizes Satan and his impact and what he's trying to do. But one of the things that Satan tries to do is to get us to focus our time doing things that are evil, trying to spend our time being engaged in sin and following after sinful attitudes, sinful desires. And so we need to be aware that those are pressures that are sitting out there trying to take our focus, take our attention from the things that are important. This is why in, for example, the book of Galatians, Paul talks about how we need to avoid the deeds of the flesh and instead be focused on the fruit of the Spirit. Because what winds up happening is when you do the deeds of the flesh, not only are you sinning against God, but you are taking away your time from being able to do these wonderful things that are wonderful for you. They're wonderful for your service for God, and they're also wonderful for other people. And so, if we're not careful, we can allow this evil to creep into our lives, and we're not even thinking about it. And all of a sudden, it dominates our days. And so, we need to be careful about having that mindset. We also need to just take some time and review our days, because a lot of times our brains like to be lazy. They like to go on autopilot. And so we may do something just because that's what we always do. You go and you get your coffee for your break during your workday. And so what's the first thing you do? Well, you pull up your social media account and you just start scrolling through and mindlessly looking at it. Now, maybe you have time for that, or maybe that time could be spent somewhere else instead. And so what winds up happening is we don't even realize that we're automatically reaching for our phones to do that we're automatically typing these things in our browsers. Like if we thought about it, we would realize it's not really the best use of our time and that there's other things we could or should be doing. But we don't even think about it. It's just habit for us. And so we need to take time to look at our day, to almost even journal it and say, how is it that I'm spending my time each and every day? And then finally, we need to make sure that we're prioritizing the things that we're doing in our day. And again, focusing on this battle of good versus evil, of God versus Satan, and wondering on the things that we're prioritizing, on the way that we're spending on our time, which side are we fighting for? Which side are we supporting? Which side are we showing that we want to be involved with? Realizing where we're putting our time allows us to see who it is that we're actually serving. And so, as Christians, we need to take a step back and we need to make sure that we're not wasting our time, that we're not allowing our time to go towards evil things or to wasteful things, but instead, we are taking advantage of the gift that God has given us and the ability to do all of these wonderful things. And so we need to make use of the time, because the days are in fact evil. I hope this lesson blesses you in your walk in his kingdom.